If someone asked you to write down the exact monetary value of your life, your daily safety, and an hour of your physical labor, what number would you put on that paper? Major international corporations treat that value as a variable in a cost-benefit analysis. They establish manufacturing plants in developing nations like India specifically to optimize for the lowest possible labor costs. In regions with high unemployment, the supply of desperate workers far exceeds the demand for jobs. If one person refuses a low wage, 10 others are waiting to take their place. This extreme replaceability drives the market value of human labor down to the legal minimum and often below it. Look at these workers balancing high above the ground. Because employees are so easily replaced, corporations can cut costs by completely ignoring workplace safety precautions. People willingly work without basic protective gear simply because they need to feed their families. The math of global manufacturing is brutally straightforward. A company maximizes its profit margins by driving the perceived operational value of a human life as close to zero as possible. On December 2nd, 1984, that economic calculation was put into practice at a pesticide plant in Bhopal, India, owned by the American corporation Union Carbide. To save money, Union Carbide had deliberately shut down or ignored multiple essential safety systems. Around midnight, a highly toxic chemical called methyl isocyanate, or MIC, began leaking from the facility. MIC is an extremely poisonous gas used in pesticide production that causes severe burning in the eyes and lungs. A dense white cloud settled over the sleeping city. Over the next 3 days, more than 8,000 people died from exposure to the gas. Mass cremations had to be organized to handle the scale of the casualties. For the working-class families who survived, the physical toll is permanent. Today, over 50,000 people are still too sick to work, suffering from severe respiratory disorders, blindness, and congenital abnormalities passed down to their children. The Bhopal disaster was the inevitable result of a management strategy that systematically traded human safety for budget cuts. How did a facility with a known history of fatal gas leaks continue to operate right next to a densely populated neighborhood? Local government officials repeatedly ignored glaring safety violations to ensure the foreign investment stayed in a region. When the Indian government finally sued Union Carbide for $3 billion in compensation for the victims, they ultimately settled for just $470 million. When governments look the other way, the effects ripple down to the absolute cheapest labor available. According to the 2001 census, over 12 million children between the ages of 5 and 14 were working across India, many in hazardous occupations. The Indian Constitution includes a specific right against exploitation, and in 2006, the government amended the Child Labor Prevention Act. This made it a punishable offense to employ children under 14 as domestic workers or in places like restaurants and roadside food stalls. When safety regulations and labor laws exist only on paper, the physical and economic burden of exploitation always falls entirely on those who have the least power to negotiate for themselves. Before the disaster in Bhopal, private industries treated the environment as a completely free resource. Factories pumped toxic chemicals into the air and waterways without facing any legal or financial restrictions. The sheer scale of the 1984 tragedy sparked intense pressure from environmental activists. In response, the Indian government introduced new, stricter environmental laws that finally made the polluter financially accountable for the damage they caused to the ecosystem. This pressure also created a shift in the courts. The Indian Constitution guarantees a right to life under Article 21. The Supreme Court expanded this definition, ruling that the right to live inherently includes the right to enjoy clean air and pollution-free water. Over time, ordinary citizens have used this exact constitutional interpretation to challenge powerful private corporations, successfully arguing that threatening a community's health or their livelihood is a direct violation of their right to life. Yet, decades later, survivors and activists are still protesting in the streets. They are still fighting for adequate healthcare and safe drinking water because corporations constantly look for new loopholes to bypass these legal protections. Having rules on the books to protect minimum wages, ban child labor, and secure the environment is only the first step. Without strict, uncompromising government enforcement, these laws are effectively useless. So look at the labor conditions and environmental regulations in your own region and tell us in the comments, if a law is written down but nobody is forced to follow it, does it actually exist?